Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the New York State Interagency Winter Preparedness Workshop. My name is Erin Odell Keller. I work for the Department of Public Service. I will be your MC today for today's event. The workshop has 6 New York State agencies presenting information about programs to help New Yorkers manage their winter heating bills, become more energy efficient, and stay safe this winter. The goal of this workshop is to provide you with a one-stop shopping experience for information, materials, and resources that can help you and your constituents or the people you serve during this winter. There will be a lot of information provided during the workshop, so please note that the webinar is being recorded. Copies of the slides and the recording will be posted on the DPS Winter website, and you'll see the URL many times today, but it's dps.ny.gov/winter. Okay, next slide, please. We have a full program today. Before we turn it over to the presenters, I will make some brief introductions. On the panel today, you will have staff from the Division of Housing and Community Renewal, or what you'll see as HCR, New York State Power Authority, or NYPA, New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, or NYSERDA, New York State Office for the Aging, or NYSOFA, New York State Department of Public Service, DPS, and last but not least, Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, or OTDA. Okay, just one second. There are 2 ways that you can ask questions to the presenters during today's event. There will be an open question and answer session after all agencies have given their presentations. In addition, you can enter a question into the Q&A box that's at the bottom right of your screen. You should see something that says Q&A. And if you click on that, you can enter a question. Please tag the presenter or agency to which your question relates. Questions that are entered during the presentations will be answered first during the open Q&A session. And I just wanted to do 1 second. We were going to have our director introduce himself, but he has not arrived yet. So we will move on. Okay, next slide. Maribel, next slide, please. Thank you. I will now hand the microphone over to our first speaker today. Jasmine Catalano from HCR is here to discuss weatherization programs. Jasmine, please start us off today.
Good morning. Thank you for including us in the presentation today. My name is Jasmine Catalano, and I'm the Special Assistant Project Manager of Special Projects for the Weatherization Assistance Program at New York State Homes and Community Renewal. I'm going to be speaking about the Weatherization Assistance Program today. Okay, you can go on to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Let's start by reviewing some weatherization basics. The intent of the Weatherization Assistance Program is to increase energy efficiency in housing occupied by low-income persons. All types of residential housing can be assisted by the Weatherization Assistance Program. This includes multifamily buildings, single-family buildings, owner-occupied buildings, mobile homes, etc. There's a strong quality assurance component, and there's an emphasis on health and safety. The Weatherization Assistance Program, or WAP, receives funding through the U.S. Department of Energy and U.S. Department of Health and Human Services through the Home Energy Assistance Program. Income eligibility for the program follows HEAP income guidelines, which is 60% of the state median income. Next slide, please.
Jasmine, I need to take a moment because we're getting information that we have attendees who are unable to see. So I'm going to stop showing and restart. So bear with me 1 second, okay?
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
What can you see?
I could see the slides.
Any of the attendees, are you able to see the slides now? If you're unable to see the slides, you may need to reconnect yourselves, please. Jasmine, please continue.
Okay, great. You can move on to the next slide, please. Our weatherization funding. New York State Homes and Community Renewal, or HCR, receives annual allocations. The annual funding is provided by the U.S. Department of Energy, or DOE, which is the weatherization funding, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, or HHS, which is the LIHEAP funding. The regular funding for the 2024 Weatherization Assistance Program was about $67.5 million. With this funding, we will be serving about 6,500 units. The Weatherization Program also received additional funding through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or bill. New York State received about $289 million. With this funding, we are projecting that about 18,000 units will be weatherized. The weatherization program has an average cost per unit of about $8,000. Next slide, please. Our program structure. Services are delivered by our nonprofit partners. The nonprofit partners include mostly community action partnerships and municipalities. We refer to our nonprofit partners as subgrantees. Households with incomes at or below 60% of the state median income are eligible for assistance. Assisted households are HEAP eligible clients with priority given to seniors, persons with disabilities, and families with children. Eligibility and building qualification rules for multifamily buildings state that at least 66% of building residents must be low income, and for multifamily buildings, there is an owner participation component, and owners are generally asked to provide an owner investment of about 25% of the cost of the weatherization work scope. There are tenant protections built into the program when multifamily buildings are weatherized, and more information about the process and timing can be found in our Policy and Procedure Manual, or PPM, which can be found on our website. Next slide, please. Typical weatherization measures. Prior to any work beginning, an energy audit is performed at the property. The investment into a building is determined by this energy audit. Each energy measure that is installed must be cost effective. Some typical measures that may be included in a weatherization work scope are addressing the heating system, air sealing, insulation of attics or sidewalls, electric baseload reduction, which could include more energy efficient lighting, health and safety work, which could include the installation of carbon monoxide detectors or smoke alarms, and incidental repairs. Next slide, please. Standards and protocols. There are standards and protocols that guide the weatherization protocol, or the weatherization program. We have our Policy and Procedures Manual, or PPM, which is a document that outlines the policies and procedures involved in the delivery of the weatherization program. There are standard work specifications that guide how the work is to be done. We have the Weatherization Field Guide, which also provides information on the standards that the weatherization work should meet. Quality control inspections are done on every completed building to ensure the quality of work and to ensure that the work meets our required standards. We also have other state and federal requirements. We follow procurement requirements such as formal bidding, and where applicable, buildings also go through the historic review process through the State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO. There's also utilization of minority and women-owned businesses, or MWBEs. Next slide, please. Renewables and other innovative measures. The program has received additional sources of funding recently. We received $5.9 million through the Weatherization Readiness Fund, or WRF. The WRF funds can be used by subgrantees to address building repairs that prevent eligible WAP buildings from being weatherized. The funds are used to keep projects from being deferred or to work to take them off deferral lists and make them active projects. WRF projects have an additional emphasis on health and safety measures, and the average cost per unit for WRF projects is approximately $20,000. We also received $25 million for the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Sustainable Energy Resources for Consumers Program, or Bill CIRC, for 2024. The Bill CIRC program will provide things such as energy retrofits, solar, thermal, domestic hot water systems, and heat pumps to approximately 1,500 units. Next slide, please. Maintaining the whole house approach. Weatherization works because it addresses the whole building. Weatherization facilitates coordination with other programs, leverages other funding sources, maximizes energy savings, and preserves housing. The program also identifies health, safety, and structural concerns. Next slide, please. Healthy homes and weatherization. Subgrantees must defer work where extensive hazards exist that cannot be addressed with weatherization funds, such as significant structural issues. Subgrantees will use the WRF funds to reduce deferrals where they are able. Trained WAB staff work lead safe to minimize the risks during the installation of energy efficiency measures. Trained weatherization staff identify and, where possible, correct mold, moisture, and other asthma triggers. Indoor air quality issues such as carbon monoxide are also addressed, and indoor air quality testing is done before, during, and after the work. Next slide, please. There are also non-energy benefits that are related to the weatherization program. Weatherization provides substantial non-energy benefits. A study was performed by the U.S. Department of Energy, and it showed that for every $1 of weatherization dollars invested in a project, the return is $2.51 in non-energy benefits. Non-energy benefits include things such as household income benefits, health benefits, reduced stress, improved indoor air quality, and potential property value increases. Next slide, please. Increased accountability and work quality. Our policy and procedures manual is updated regularly to incorporate new regulations, policies, and guidance. There are initiatives that ensure the quality of the program. We require the use of quality work plans and that the weatherization work meets published standard work specifications. And those working on weatherization projects must complete ongoing trainings and maintain certifications. There is oversight and monitoring of the program on an ongoing basis. There is an annual evaluation process, and we have ongoing compliance monitoring of the program. The weatherization program incorporates innovative technologies such as full energy audits, blower door tests, and gas sniffers. Next slide, please. This is our contact information. If you have any questions or would like more information about the Weatherization Assistance Program or how to apply, you can email us at the Weatherization email address or call us at 518-474-5700. And you can also connect with me directly, and my contact info is listed as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you all today. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Erin.
Next slide. Thank you. Thank you, Jasmine. Now, before we turn it over to NYPA, I did want to make an introduction of our Department of Public Service Director of Consumer Services, Richard Berkley.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you everyone for coming today, and to our sister agencies for presenting today. We appreciate it greatly, and we know that it will be as much a value to consumers as it has been when we've done this in the past. Again, we appreciate everyone for coming, and look forward to hearing the presentations.
Thank you, Richard. So now we have a presentation from NYPA. Unfortunately, NYPA's representatives were unable to join us today. They did provide their slides regarding energy education and weatherization workshops. Maribel Rivera will give a high-level overview of NYPA's slides, and there will be contact information at the end of this presentation. Maribel?
Thank you, Erin. My name is Maribel Rivera. I actually work for the Department of Public Service. The information that I'm going to give you is from NYPA. The New York Power Authority is the largest state public power organization in the nation. Their mission is to lead the transition to a carbon-free, economically vibrant New York through customer partnerships innovative energy solutions, and responsible supply of affordable, clean, and reliable electricity. NYPA's vision is to build a thriving and resilient New York powered by clean energy. The weatherization workshop overview. NYPA offers energy education and weatherization workshops to community-based groups located near their facilities. Okay. They have a free weatherization kits that include the items listed. They support the community through energy literacy. They help alleviate the energy burden faced by some low or middle income families. Simple or renter-friendly demonstrations that don't require tools. And they're free for the organizations and the participants. The workshop topics are heating and cooling, water conservation, how to use appliances, lighting, and other resources that are available. The goals of the workshops are to identify the biggest energy users in their homes, answer energy questions and concerns, identify actions that can be taken, and develop an action plan. They work with different stakeholders, refugee and immigrant centers, religious organizations, public libraries, senior centers, community-based organizations, and housing authorities, where residents pay their own utilities. Okay. They coordinate workshop logistics, how to host a workshop. I'm so sorry. Bear with me. With the stakeholders, those are some of the examples. They also have a Spanish educator who can host the workshop in Spanish, and NYPA translates the teaching materials in other languages as they are needed by the participants. NYPA partners with community groups to host these workshops. If you're interested in working with NYPA, please reach out to any of the contact information on this screen. I will now hand the mic back to Erin.
Thank you, Maribel. I want to just take a moment to state that we will have these slides available after the workshop. So particularly for those people who are on the phone, they will be available, and I'll talk about that at the end of the session as to how you can get those slides. So any of those contact links and information will be available to everybody, as well as the recording. So next up, we have Uthman Aziz from NYSERDA to discuss the Empower Plus program. Uthman will be followed by his colleague Jessica Ortiz Lomazni, who will discuss the agency's regional clean energy hubs. Next slide.
Thank you, Erin, and good morning, everyone. My name is Uthman Aziz, and I'm going to give a brief overview of NYSERDA's single-family residential program, Empower Plus. Next slide. A little background. NYSERDA's single-family residential programs have served low and moderate income households with energy efficiency services for over 20 years. Empower Plus provides low and moderate income households throughout New York State no-cost home energy assessments and incentives to offset the cost of energy efficiency upgrades, with the emphasis on making homes heat pump ready. And heat pump ready homes are those that have sufficient insulation levels to minimize the cost impact of the home's transition to electricity. The program serves an average of 25,000 households annually, and we have a network of about 200 plus participating contractors and vendors. Next slide. A little on the eligibility here. Empower Plus is open to both owners and renters. So single family homes and 2 to 4 unit rental properties. Renters will need permission from building owners to take advantage of the comprehensive energy efficiency measures. but not the direct measures, and we'll get to that later on. And then there's a little bit about the income requirements, because it is an LMI program, low to moderate income program. So we consider low income, those are households earning less than 60% of the state median income. And then for moderate income, those are households earning between 60 and 80% of the state median income and or the area median income, whichever is higher. Next slide. So about the funding for Empower Plus, it's important to note that Empower Plus provides services statewide. However, program funding sources requirements may limit where the program funds can actually be spent. For example, system benefits charge, right, the SBC, that funds projects, those are limited to households of the main investor utility owned or utility owned utilities who pay into the SBC. So that excludes Long Island and several municipalities. And then you have new efficiency New York projects, and they're funded based on the customer's eligible electric or gas utility. And then you have OTADA, REGI, state and federal funds, and these projects can be, those funds can be used on projects that are statewide. And so it's important to note here that Empower Plus project approval is subject to the availability of funds at the time of the work scope submission. Next slide. Overview of the program and what's provided here. So Empower Plus provides the following: it's no cost or low cost, right, for both low and moderate income households. So first, at no cost, you're going to have a free home energy assessment, and you will be able to get direct install measures. Usually that's in efficient lighting or weather stripping. And then it also provides a no cost or low cost energy efficient measure, which includes insulation or air sealing, replacement of old inefficient refrigerators and freezers, heating and hot water repair or replacements. And one thing to note here, when we do make replacements, we prioritize heat pump technology. And then lastly, when a project is complete, projects are eligible for quality assurance inspections for up to one, for up to 1 year following completion of the work. And approximately 15% of the projects are inspected each year. Important to note here that a customer, if work is done on their home, they can easily request a QA, and we would do that QA as well. Next slide. So we'll get into the incentives here, and here's where we're gonna, maybe 2 slides from here, we'll talk a little bit about IRA, but I wanna get into just the basic incentives for Empower Plus. So for low income households, Empower Plus covers up to 100% of the cost of eligible work up to the program cap. And so for single family homes, the cap is $10,000. If you're in a 2 to 4 family rental home, the initial unit is 10,000 because that's the cap, and then every unit additional is going to be 5,000. So the cap will be 5,000 for the additional units when it comes to the family, the 2 to 4 rental. And if in that situation, if 50% or more of the units are income eligible, then the whole unit, each unit is considered low income. Next slide. So it's a little bit different for moderate income households. Again, moderate income households, you have the discount up to 100% of eligible work, and the pricing is going to be determined by the household and participating contractor, but the caps are a little bit different. So for a single family in the moderate income level, your cap is $5,000. And then for 2 to 4 family rental, in the moderate income, your cap starts at the 5,000. Each additional unit will be 2,500. So those will be the caps. And similar to the low income, if 50% of the of units are income eligible, in this case for moderate, then the entire project will be considered moderate income. And there's also low interest financing available for low and moderate income households with rates ranging from 4 to 4.5%. Next slide. And so this is where it gets exciting and a little bit interesting here. So we've obviously IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, there's a number of funds that have come into the state of New York, and we are implementing those funds through our Home Electrification and Appliance Rebate Program, our HERE funding. And so we have combined our HERE funding with Empower Plus funding to make a single offering through Empower Plus. And so you see here on the far left, you have your caps, your 10,000 and your 5,000. The tiers are they go along with your low income to moderate income. So moderate income will be a tier 3 and low income will be tier 1. So you see the 10,000 cap and you see the 5,000 cap. Keep that in mind as you move over to the middle. You see the max incentives down. It's measure based. So you got heat pumps, you've got heat pump water heater, you got electric service upgrade, you got electrical wiring upgrade, air sealing and installation. All of those have a tied amount to it. Those are the caps within the here funding, and it has a maximum amount of 14,000. And so this is what's being offered along with the Empower, your regular Empower Plus funding. And now if you go all the way to the right side, you see the caps now have totally changed. They've gone from 10,000 and 5,000 up to 24,000 and 19,000. And so this is what's exciting about the IRA and the Inflation Reduction Act funds now being weaved into the Empower Plus and again offered as a single program offering. Next slide. So the application process is very simple. Customers can go online and apply. The link is there. They can also go online and request a paper application. The application online and the application that gets sent to you, you can get in various languages. Or you can contact your regional clean energy hub. That is going to be, we're going to kind of expound on the clean energy hub because that's very exciting as well. So we'll come right back to that with Jessica's presentation. But then following the application, a contractor will schedule a site visit. They'll do the no-cost home energy assessment. They're going to identify areas of opportunity for the household to save energy. They're going to provide energy education there, update the customer on, as they do the walkthrough with the energy assessment, they can give energy education to the customer. And then when they have the opportunity, they will install what's called direct measures, right? And that's going to be LED lighting or weather stripping. They can do that free of charge as well. And then the contractor develops, based on this energy assessment, they develop a work scope, and then they submit that work scope to NYSERDA. Next slide. So just continuing this process, we get the work scope. Usually it is reviewed within about 2 days or so of the work scope. And then the measures are installed by the contractor. Obviously, it's not 2 days review and then the very next day the contractor's out there installing. There's time in between that, but we're skipping ahead there. After approval, the contractor will go and do the measures that was in the work scope. The customer then confirms the completion of the measures, and the contractor uploads the documentation showing that the work was done. We have geotag photos. There's a number of things that the contractor has to kind of complete to make sure that this work is done and done properly. And then once that is verified, NYSERDA issues payment to the contractor. And then as mentioned earlier, approximately 15% of the projects that are done throughout the year are selected for quality assurance inspections. And right now our inspections are completed by Honeywell. Next slide. There's also referrals. So whether a customer goes online and finds this application or fills it out online or get the application mailed to them, we actually have referrals as well for customers, and we routinely receive referrals from utilities and agencies like OTDA. So the way this works is we get these referrals, which signify that the household is going to be income verified or income eligible for Empower Plus. And then the referrals are maintained in our database Salesforce, and then these households are batched and mailed an actual application to that address. And the application package provides information about the Empower Plus program, obviously the application as well. And then the household is also provided a referral code, which can be entered online or on that paper application that's mailed to them. And the applications that have this referral code aren't required to provide any additional income documentation because they've already been verified by the referral. Next slide. There's a ton of assistance that we've got assisting us kind of throughout this process. Obviously, when we have 25,000 plus of these being done annually, so we have a whole intake implementation contractor, which is our TRC group. You see some of the things that they do there: review and improve Empower Plus applications. They oversee the call center there. They have the help desk ticketing intake for triaging of work scopes. Then you have our technical services contractor, which is currently Clear Result. They assign participating contractors They review and approve project scopes, project work scopes. They review participating contractor performance in the program as well. And then we have our loan originator. That's going to be Slipstream. So they review and approve loan applications, review and approve loans for the single family residential projects as well. Next slide. Continuing with the support teams, we have quality assurance contractors, which I already mentioned is Honeywell. They go out and they do the inspections of that 15%. They perform infill quality assurance inspections and report findings to participating contractors and technical services. We have our loan servicing contractor, which is currently Concord. And then we have our regional clean energy hubs. We have 12 of those, and we're going to get into more details with my colleague Jessica on that. Very exciting stuff there with the regional clean energy hubs. Next slide. Here are a few links, and these are live links. So if you have this presentation at your fingertips, you can click any of these. When it comes to finding out more about the Empower Plus program, you can click on the application. You can print the application. You can fill the application out online, and then there's a number of other helpful links there as well for your assistance. Next slide. That said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Jessica, who's going to give us a rundown of the regional clean energy hubs. Jessica?
Thanks, Supman. Good morning. My name is Jessica Ortiz-Lamazmi. I serve on NYSERDA's Energy and Climate Equity team as a program manager. Today, I'll be talking with you all about the regional clean energy hubs. Next slide. The regional clean energy hubs provide a holistic, multidisciplinary approach to ensure that all communities have equal access to the benefits and opportunities offered by the state's clean energy transition. This initiative is currently contracted for 4 years. The program is in its second year. Hubs are located in each of New York State's 10 economic development regions. There are 12 hubs in total, with 3 hubs located in the New York City region due to population density. Next slide, please. What's exciting about the hubs is that they're a team of trusted, knowledgeable, community-based organizations in and from the regions they serve. The hubs have experience with clean energy, energy efficiency, workforce and economic development, education, housing, and health. They work primarily through direct engagement in collaboration with the sister agencies here on the call, our utilities, and partnering community-based organizations throughout the region. The hubs engage residents in disadvantaged communities, affordable housing providers, small businesses, as well as low to moderate and market rate customers. The hubs listed on this screen and on the NYSERDA Regional Clean Energy Hub website are able to help New Yorkers, community members across the state with many of the programs mentioned on today's call. Next slide. The hubs aim to do a number of things. They aim to primarily increase awareness of and access to clean energy solutions and opportunities. They aim to increase public participation in energy planning and program coordination activities. Their aim at uptake in clean energy projects with support for accessing wraparound services and resources. They advance local capacity to engage with community members about clean energy policy, technologies, and opportunities. They're aimed at increasing partnerships with diverse contractors that result in scalable projects and activities. And they support career pathways for individuals currently residing in disadvantaged communities by connecting them to trainings and apprenticeship opportunities. Next slide. The hubs accomplish these goals by primarily making connections and being present within their communities. The hubs organize and attend already existing community events. This includes, but is not limited to, food pantries, Earth Day festivals, street fairs, as well as career fairs. They also provide energy literacy workshops, which are opportunities for people to come and learn about self-install energy measures in their homes, as well as learn about clean energy programs. They're also developing technology agnostic campaigns that focus on installing needed technologies and home improvements, such as heat pumps, solar and installation across the communities in their region. And they're continuously creating partnerships and leveraging resources to expand the hub network and create lasting relationships within the communities. Next slide, please. Hubs also provide program and loan application assistance, as Ootman suggested. They work on getting people into the Empower Plus program, HEAP, WAP, as well as utility bill assistance programs. And what they do is refer community members to those programs and resources. They do this by creating one-on-one connections with community members who have requested their guidance in navigating the many clean energy programs available across the state. While the hubs are doing this engagement work, they're also implementing strategies to collect feedback and share information to elevate the voices from communities on the front lines of the climate crisis. And as I mentioned, they also work to advance diversity in the clean energy workforce by connecting residents and small businesses with resources and training opportunities. Next slide, please. Within 2 years, the hubs have collectively assisted over 4,000 customers and referred these customers to over 8,000 programs, keeping in mind that one customer may be income eligible for multiple programs, such as HEAP, WAP, Lifeline, utility bill assistance, etc. As I mentioned, hubs are actively engaged with the community members across their state and their regions, and they have participated in over 2,000 outreach events, engaging an estimated 8,000 people. Hubs are here to support communities across the state to gain access to new opportunities to benefit from the clean energy transition. This includes tapping into those income eligible programs I mentioned, incentive rebates, as well as job training opportunities. Next slide, please. Please feel free to reach out to any of the NYSERDA contacts listed on this slide, as well as you can reach out to your regional clean energy hub directly by finding them on the nyserda.ny.gov website. Thank you so much for this opportunity for speaking with you all today. Back to Erin.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Uthman and Jessica. Now that we're at the halfway point of the webinar, I just want to give a quick reminder that we will be taking questions after all the presentations have been completed. However, you can type your question into the webinar's Q&A feature that is located at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. We will capture the question and address it after the last presentation. Please remember to tag the agency or presenter that you would like to address your question to. And as a reminder, we are recording the workshop, and the recording and the copies of the slides will be made available a day or two after the workshop has been completed. So let's keep moving with Alicia Sauray from NYSOFA to discuss services for older New Yorkers and their caregivers. Alicia?
Thank you, Erin. I'm delighted to be here today, and I want to thank everyone who is presenting, as well as those who've taken some time this morning to join in this webinar and learn information on how they can assist the people that they're serving, and hopefully even in your own families as well. So today I will briefly go over the Office for the Aging and the resources that are available for older adults this winter. Next slide, please. A little background on New York State Office for the Aging. NYSOFA is our acronym, and it's our mission to help all older New Yorkers be as independent as possible for as long as possible, with an emphasis on diverse populations and those that experience disparities. NYSOFA fulfills this mission through advocacy, development, and delivery of person-centered, consumer-oriented, and cost-effective policies, programs, and services that support and empower older adults and their families in the partnership with a network of public and private, state and community organizations, like the state organizations that are being featured today. And how we do that is we promote and deliver person-centered programs and services for older adults, their caregivers, and persons with disabilities. Across the state, there are 59 area agencies on aging, though you might more commonly know them as an office for aging. We have county offices for the aging, and we also have offices for the agings that are through non-for-profits, as well as we have 2 area agencies on agings that are administered through the 2 Indian nations. And we have a host of community organizations that we work with. And today we're here because NYSOFA realizes that access to affordable energy is a component of social determinants of health. And we partner with folks on this call in initiatives dedicated to improving energy affordability, access, and efficiency. Just highlighting a couple of the ways and how we do that is the network of the 59 area agencies on aging provides outreach, information, and assistance on the HEAP program, as well as all of the programs we're featuring today. We are involved in a HEAP interagency task force, the Weatherization Policy Council. This is a year-round project for us, the Extreme Heat Work Group, and the Emergency Management Access and Functional Needs Work Group. And lastly, the Interagency Winter Workshop Work Group that we're delighted to be here today. Next slide, please. Whenever we have an opportunity, we want to help share some fact-based information about the social, economic, and intellectual contributions of older New Yorkers. We really want to combat ageism and stereotypes, so we've put a couple of highlights here today that there are over 4.6 million older New Yorkers in the state. We're the 4th in the nation in terms of persons over age 60. There's some information here about the contributions of older adults. They contribute 495 million hours of community service, and that's a value of $13.8 billion. And there's a lot of diversity with the individuals we serve. 64% of people over age 60 own their own homes and they have no mortgage, and they're contributing to the local tax base. 4.1 million are caregivers. They are unpaid caregivers, and they contribute to a total market value of $32 billion. As well, we know that individuals over 60 account for most of the volunteering, philanthropy, entrepreneurship, and donation activities in the US. And for those of us living in New York State, we know 80% of New York State retirement payouts stay in New York. And with that, we are moving on to the next slide. Thank you. While we know that, and we know older adults encompass a very diverse group of individuals, we know that there are inequities that are experienced by older adults and other populations. And one of those inequities that we see is an increased energy burden. You might not be familiar with what an energy burden is, but it's the percentage of your household income that is spent on energy costs. So in terms of what is an average energy cost, it's more so a range. It depends on where you live in the country, and if you live in an urban area versus a rural area in the mountains of New York State. The target, and our partners could clarify this in the slides to come if not accurate, but in general, we would like the median to be under 10% of the household income or less. But what we know is households with the highest energy burdens include older adults. There is some data that shows that some populations of older adults pay up to 30% of their income on energy costs. This is also disproportionately affecting those with low income, people with disabilities, Native Americans, racial and ethnic minorities. As we learned in earlier slides, renters and residents, of multifamily units and other disadvantaged communities. For more information, you're welcome to check in on the link from the Office of Energy and Renewable Energy. Next slide, please. So we know that age is not in itself an indicator of ability or needs, but we do know that there are increased risks that are faced by older adults that are affected by the cold. Older adults are more likely to have certain chronic medical conditions to make it harder to stay warm. So we're talking about diabetes, thyroid problems, Parkinson's disease, and arthritis make it more challenging to put on clothes or use a blanket, and this can cause an increased risk of falls. Also, certain medicines, both over-the-counter and prescription meds, can also affect the blood flow. So always good to check in with your healthcare professional. Next slide, please. I think we hear a lot about heat and the dangers of heat on older adults, and it's startling to know that 80% of individuals who pass away due to heat-related conditions are that 80% are older adults. But what is also startling is the impact of cold on older adults, and raising awareness that 20% of injuries related to exposure to cold happen inside the home. So older adults and persons with disabilities are the highest risk groups of this and face poorer health outcomes. One of the many risks is hypothermia. And so just wanted to share a little information about hypothermia. And it is when the body's temperature drops below 95 degrees. And hypothermia can occur in cooler temperatures, even above 40 if you're not protected from the rain or sweat, or if you're cold. Hypothermia can cause arrhythmia, heart failure, damage to the kidneys or liver. And it also has an effect on the brain, making it harder to think clearly. It might affect cognition, so it's important to be aware of the signs regarding hypothermia. So slowing of actions, slurred speech, cold feet and hands, puffy or swollen face, not sleeping or feeling extra sleepy, angry, or confused. Next slide, please. So this is where we want to partner with all of you that are on the call in increasing awareness and of the resources available through Office for the Aging, and helping to make connections with our network, our 59 area agencies on aging. We are a trusted and established network serving vulnerable populations with a 40-year record of strong community-based relationships. We have experience with hospital transitions, evidence-based programs, and cultural and linguistic competence. We have a holistic approach. We're helping people at home. We are serving as the eyes and ears for medical professionals across all settings. We are a single point of entry for individuals needing an array of support services, and we serve clients for life, where it's not episode focused, where there's a fall and we are in the story for a couple of months. We are there with the individual and helping them to remain in their home, in their community of choice. Nor are we insurance driven. If you could move on to the next slide, please. Just some information about the scope of NYSOFA by the numbers. We've already talked about the 59 area agencies on aging. We have 777 senior centers, as well as 819 congregate meal sites. This is where older adults come to to congregate, to enjoy social connections, enjoy a meal, and they get to know the staff and volunteers that are there. We have 315 central kitchens, and we have over 2,000 home delivered meal routes. I think when people think of Office for the Aging, they often think of home delivered meals. So it's no surprise that we are in every pocket of the state. Lastly, we are promoting evidence-based health interventions. And these are trainings that are provided through the network of AAAs. And we provide training to over 35,000 older New Yorkers a year on issues such as health disparities and chronic health conditions. Next slide, please. Office for the Aging has over 20 core programs, and I wanted to take a minute just to highlight a few that I think are key to what we're talking about today. Our nutrition programs, they not only meet dietary guidelines for older adults, but they're delivered at a client's home. And volunteers also provide wellness checks. So it's not uncommon where a volunteer driver who's delivering a meal will report back to the Office for the Aging that one of the people on their route is running low on propane, or they are it's hard for the truck to get in to deliver oil. So they are, when they're dropping off the meals, finding out what's going on in the person's life and being a conduit back to their case management. Congregate meals, as I mentioned, the individuals get to know each other. It's a social connection. We have well-tuned ears. If someone at a congregate meal site shares, it's wintertime, I'm coming here to keep warm, we want to hear more about what's happening with that person so we can connect them with resources. Also, speaking about the client assessment, we conduct in-home assessments that are person-centered and really focus on the strengths and needs for focusing on what matters most to promoting quality of life and active aging. Individuals receiving a client assessment, it's in the home through a case manager, and it's important to know that the case manager works with the older adult and the caregiver based on the preferences and needs. Almost all New York State case managers receive credentialing. They are required to complete a 20-hour case management certification course and pass a competency exam. So they're among the most highly trained case management in the state and in the country as a whole. We offer home care. This is non-medical personal care, ranging from light housework and laundry to running errands, but also providing assistance with daily living as well. Transportation. The Offices for the Aging provide safe rides to help older adults get to medical appointments, pharmacies, congregate meal sites, and they also offer referrals. If the AAA is not able to provide that service, they will help to arrange it. And lastly, what I'd like to bring up is our interventions on social isolation. I think one of the biggest risk factors and public health concerns that we've learned about throughout the pandemic is the social isolation and the real risks that it causes. So every local office has designated programs to promote opportunities for connections. So these are wellness checks. They're online and person-centered connections to help people stay healthy, stay connected, have friendly visits, phone calls, Zoom book clubs, chat groups, all with the intention of helping people stay engaged and supported, because it's a basic human need for each of us to have those connections. One of the ways we're doing this is through implementation of innovative technologies that promote connection. So some of them, I encourage you to check out NYSOFA's website, and We have features such as Blooming Health, which helps to keep the older adults in the community informed, and it's a conduit of information back to the AAA. There's courses that they can take, as well as LEQ, which is a pretty fascinating device. It's a computer that is able to be placed in the person's home, and it's a method for communicating, and it's very fascinating. LEQ can read the individual the news, it could have a conversation, and it's all based on what's important to that older adult. Okay, next slide, please. Again, we could not do what we do without our partnerships. So when we hear about someone who's struggling with energy, or their home is drafty, we rely on the providers on this call. New York State is committed to addressing energy inequities and making sure that everyone has access to energy efficient and affordable energy. Next slide, please. So to get connected with the local Office for the Aging, one of the programs I'd like to highlight is New York Connects. It's a trusted one-stop for information about long-term care services and supports in every community. We provide referral and application assistance. We connect you with the organizations that can provide the assistance. We have an online resource directory, and the link is provided there, and you can always call the statewide line. And what we will do is we will connect you with your local Office for the Aging, your local New York Connects. We also work with independent living centers to make this happen. Next slide, please. And wrapping it up, for more information about being in contact with your local area agency on aging, please visit the link. There's information about their offices, and it will link you right to their websites. Also need to make a plug for our health insurance information and counseling assistance program. We call it HICAP. Right now it's Medicare's open enrollment, and we have specially trained counselors that provide information about Medicare and long-term care insurance. This could be received over the phone or in person. And we also administer the long-term care ombudsman program. So this is a regional program that helps older adults and people with disabilities who live in facility settings to understand and exercise their right. So with that, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to any questions you might have. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Alicia. I will now turn it over to my DPS colleagues. First up is Tim Marsh to discuss energy affordability programs. And then after Tim, we have Xenia Vega and Esmond Brown Anderson, who will describe the agency's consumer outreach program.
Thank you, Erin. If we can go to the next slide. Perfect. Good afternoon. My name is Tim Marsh with the Department of Public Service, and I'll be discussing the utility energy affordability programs. First, a brief description of the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission regulates the state's electric, gas, steam, telecommunications, and water utilities, and oversees the cable industry. Part of the Commission's mission is to ensure safe, secure, and reliable service at just and reasonable rates. Next slide. So for the energy affordability program, when customers are enrolled in the affordability program, they are automatically enrolled in the utility's budget billing plan. But a customer may opt out of that program by contacting their utility. In August of 2021, the Commission issued an order that made program improvements. The modified discount calculations better reflect actual customer data, eligibility for the programs, was also expanded to create a uniform process and application to allow a customer to self-certify for program enrollment. Next slide. The Energy Affordability Program occurs when customers are enrolled in various public assistance programs. For example, National Grid includes this list of qualifying programs. And again, these slides will be made available if you would like to peruse these more. Next slide. If a utility customer is not automatically enrolled in the EAP and are receiving benefits from a qualified program, that customer can contact the utility's phone, email, or other communication service provided by the utility, such as a chat function. All utilities have outreach and education programs, which include various methods of dispensing low-income program information to customers. Next slide. Here we'll see each major utility's website has information relating to low-income assistance programs. And just for a third time, you'll be sent these slides for reference if you want to contact your particular utility. Next slide. Expansion to EAP has been occurring recently in the 2023 New York State budget appropriation. The Energy Affordability Guarantee was set up to allow the Department of Public Service and NYSERDA to mitigate the energy burden impact for low-income households that fully electrify their housing through NYSERDA's Empower Plus program. The program guarantees heat pumps for space and water heating for the useful life of the equipment, and it will be administered as a pilot program, so we can gather information to make useful policy, strategy, and program changes in the future. It was approved by the Public Service Commission on August 15th, 2024, and funded through fiscal year 2025. Staff filed the implementation plan for this on November 15th, 2024, the text of which can be found on the Department of Public Service website in case 14M0565. The pilot will launch in Q1 of 2025. Next slide. Also included as part of the New York State budget appropriation is an expanded discount program and an EAP guarantee pilot. So we spoke already about the guarantee pilot. The expanded discount program is designed to provide moderate income customers with bill relief. These customers are just above the criteria for EAP participation. The EAP working group has ongoing meetings to discuss the criteria and procedures required to implement the expanded discount program. So the outcomes from all of these are expected to come in early next year, 2025. And we will hope these help moderate income homes across New York State. That's it from my part. I'll now pass the mic to Xenia.
Hello, my name is Xenia Vega, and I'm part of the Outreach and Education team on Long Island. I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce or reintroduce the Department of Public Service Long Island. The Long Island office was established as a provision in the LIPA Reform Act to oversee the electric service currently being provided by PSE&G Long Island. The Long Island office primary role is to ensure reliable and safe electric, gas, steam, telecommunication, and water services to homes and businesses on Long Island at a fair rate while protecting the environment. The staff also welcomes walk-in customers looking for help with utilities on Long Island. Next slide, please. Staff at our Long Island office reviews electricity infrastructure, upgrade plans, assesses PSE&G Long Island's customer service and operation performance, and monitors costs associated with budgets. Regular audits aim to enhance LIPA's efficiency and service quality, while external audits ensure account finance records is compliance with regulations. As you can see on the slide, we do have multiple different agent staff members here at the Long Island office. The Long Island office has multiple divisions comprised of attorneys, accountants, engineers, consumer service economics, and other subject matter experts. Staff investigates complaints on behalf of all Long Island ratepayers, not only for electric service, but for all gas, water, telephone, and cable customers. We enforce statewide consumer protections under the Home Energy Fair Practice Act, also known as HEFPA. The QR code will direct you straight to our Department of Long Island website, and that is also a live link on the presentation. Next slide, please. The outreach team conducts consumer presentations and exhibits at community events. We provide the community with a wealth of information and enjoy participating with groups like yours to help our community receive safe, secure, and reliable access to utility services at just and reasonable rates. We'd love to partner with all of you. If you have any events and would like to request a speaker or exhibitor, please contact us at the consumer.outreachli@dps.ny.gov. We can also be contacted directly via phone and or emails as listed on the slide. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you for your time, and I will pass over now to Esmond.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Xenia. Good morning. My name is Esmond Brown Anderson, and I am with the department's Outreach and Education section. Today, I will be giving you an overview of what our outreach department does. DPS's Winter Outreach and Education campaign will use a variety of tools to reach utility consumers, including events, exhibits, and presentations, partnerships with service organizations and local governments, and platforms such as social media channels and the department's website. As mentioned previously, the purpose of this workshop is to provide a one-stop shopping forum for information, materials, and resources that can help you and your constituents during the winter season. Similarly, at our department's website, we have a dedicated winter page, Preparedness, where we can be reached by using the short URL listed on the slide. The page has a lot of information that you heard during this workshop, including ways to manage winter bills, financial assistance programs, consumer protections, and energy efficiency tips. The page has links to New York State and utility assistance programs, as well as copies of DPS's consumer publications in multiple languages. Materials can be downloaded and printed, or hard copies can be ordered from the webpage. Next slide, please. Thank you. Department staff distributes consumer information through our grassroots outreach program, including exhibits at public events, such as senior expos, health fairs, and home shows. We also work collaboratively with our partner New York State agencies to host winter preparedness one-stop shopping events. Today's virtual workshop is the start of our winter effort, which will continue throughout the coming months. Today's workshop and one in January 2025 target elected officials, service organizations, and consumer groups to provide programs, information you can share with the consumers you serve. To reach consumer with hands-on assistance about available resources, this multi-agency partnership will be taking our one-stop shopping events on the road to share winter preparedness information with New Yorkers in person. These energy fairs will allow consumers an opportunity to discuss available programs, how they qualify, and how they may enroll. Dates, times, and locations of the energy fairs will be posted on our winter page. Lastly, DPS outreach is available for presentations about our agency and winter management information. If you have a meeting or event that your organization or community would like us to exhibit at or give a presentation, please contact us at consumer.outreach@dps.ny.gov. I will now turn it over back to Ari. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Tim, Xenia, and Esmond. Finally, our last speaker today is from OTDA. Brady Morgan will discuss the Home Energy Assistance Program, or what you may know as HEAP. Take it away, Brady.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you to everybody who has presented so far and everybody else who's been listening. My name is Brady Morgan. I am one of the utility liaisons with HEAP. I'm joined by our Bureau Chief, Emily Urban. And we can go to the next slide, please. We can go to the next one, please. All right, so for our 2024-2025 program year, nationwide, LIHEAP has received $3.7 billion, and 90% of that has been released to date. LIHEAP, it's a federally funded grant program which assists low-income households in meeting their energy needs, while providing the largest benefits to households with the highest energy needs. We receive annual funding through a block grant. That's that $3.7 billion I mentioned earlier. And New York State's share to date so far has been $360 million. And we can move on to the next slide, please. On your screen are our program dates for this year. We plan to operate a regular benefit, 2 emergency benefits, heating equipment repair and replacement, clean and tune, as well as our cooling benefit. Availability for these benefits and program dates are dependent on the actual amount of funding our state receives. HER or HAIR, which is the home energy replacement, the heating equipment repair and replacement. I'm sorry, it was on the tip of my tongue. I completely lost it. And the clean and tune are open right now. Those benefits are still operating year round. Regular HEAP opened on November 1st. And the biggest change to our program this year is that we are planning to operate both the first and second emergencies the day that they open on January 2nd, 2025. I'll go into a little more detail on this when I talk about our emergency benefit a little bit later. Finally, our cooling program will open next spring on April 15th, and all of these program dates are subject to changes based on demand as well as the availability of federal funding. Next slide, please. So now I'll go into a little bit about our income guidelines. How we determine income eligibility is based on household size and monthly income. A household's income could place them into either Tier 1 or Tier 2. Those income guidelines are on this slide and will be on OTDA's website very soon. New York State elects to set income guidelines at the maximum allowable levels under the federal statute, and the income guidelines have slightly increased from last year, 2023-2024. In addition to income, we have some general requirements for all HEAP benefits. These include citizenship requirements. The applicant must be a New York State resident and file in the county where they reside. They must pay a vendor directly for heating costs or pay rent that includes heating costs. The household must provide valid Social Security numbers for all household members that have one, and the household's income must fall within the income guidelines based on their household size, like I mentioned. Okay, next slide, please. Now we'll go into a little bit about the regular benefit component. The regular benefit is what most people think about when they hear HEAP. The regular benefit is a one-time annual supplement designed to assist eligible households with the cost of heating their homes. The regular benefit opened up on November 1st, and is scheduled to operate until March 17th, 2025. Applications for the regular benefit are submitted to the local district where the applicant lives, and the local Department of Social Services will make the eligibility determination. Regular benefits may be paid to households that heat their homes with gas or electric utilities, or heat their homes with a deliverable fuel. These benefits are always issued directly to the household's heating vendor. For households that pay indirectly for their heat in the form of rent, heat included benefits may be issued to the household directly on their EBT or CBIC card. If the household pays a vendor for electricity, the heat included benefit may be directed to the electric vendor. The benefit amounts range from $21 to $996, depending on the household's heating type, income tier, and household composition. All HEAP grants do not need to be paid back. Okay, next slide, please. And on this slide, we'll talk a little bit about our benefit amounts. Regular heaters benefits are paid to eligible households that have a direct vendor relationship, which means they have a heating bill in their name for their primary heating source, or that they pay their vendor directly for heating costs. The base benefit amounts are calculated based on how that household heats their home and whether the household falls into Tier 1 income level or Tier 2. And what also is a variable is if they have a vulnerable member in their home. For heat purposes, a vulnerable member is a child under age 6, an adult age 60 or older, or a permanently disabled individual. The base benefit amounts for regular heater benefits are $900 for households who heat with oil, kerosene, or propane, $635 for wood, coal, or other deliverables, $400 for natural gas or electric, and the base benefit amounts have not changed from last year. Additionally, the households may be eligible for add-ons of either $35 for households with a vulnerable member or $61 for households with income Tier 1. The Tier 1 add-on has increased for the 24-25 program year. For the last years, the Tier 1 add-on amount was $41, and it's been increased to $61 for this program year. Depending on the household circumstances, they may receive both add-ons for a total of $96. And if you have an oil, kerosene, or propane, then that totals to $996, which I mentioned before. Okay, next slide, please. We'll go into a little bit about renters' benefits on this slide. The regular heat included benefits are paid to households who live in certain living situations where heating costs are included in their shelter expense. For the renters' benefits, it will be a $50 for Tier 1 heat included renters' benefit. It'll be $45 for Tier 2 heat included renters' benefit. And there is a $21 for heat and eat, and these are households that reside in subsidized housing, group homes, and congregate care facilities. There were no changes to the amounts for this year, and there are no add-ons for regular heat included or heat and eat benefits. And we can move on to the next slide, please. We'll talk about how to apply on this slide. Eligible applicants may receive one regular heat benefit per program year. They may apply for HEAP in 3 different ways. First, there's the auto pay. This benefit is automatic for recipients of ongoing SNAP or federally funded TA. You can apply online via My Benefits for areas outside of New York City. And for New York City residents, they may apply online at Access HRA, or lastly, you can apply with paper HEAP applications, our LDSS 3421. HEAP applications may be downloaded from OGDA's website. They may also be picked up from a local Department of Social Services office or alternate certifier's office. And lastly, the DSS can also mail an applicant an application if they need one. And the next slide, please. This slide will go into our emergency benefit, which opens January 2nd. So the emergency benefits assist eligible households in a heat or heat-related emergency by providing a payment to the household's energy vendor to restore heat or prevent a no-heat emergency. Emergency benefits also provide for temporary relocation and propane tank deposits. The emergency benefit amounts are on the screen. The emergency component is scheduled to open on January 2nd, like I mentioned, and is scheduled to close alongside regular HEAP on March 17th, 2025. For the past several years, we have offered a second emergency to households that have exhausted their first emergency benefit, but we would assess for a second emergency after the program opened. This year, there will be no gap in availability for first and second emergency benefits. The household may apply for a first emergency benefit, and when that is exhausted, they can apply right away for a second emergency. For utilities, this will mean the 30-day hold on their utility account, and if a subsequent shutoff notice is sent, or if the 30-day hold did not take them out of termination status, they would apply for the second emergency after those first 30 days are up. This will not mean 60 days of service automatically. They will have to requalify and reapply for the second emergency benefit. To apply for an emergency benefit, whether it be first or second, you want to contact your local Department of Social Services. Most emergency applications can be taken over the phone. And next slide, please. Here we'll get into a little bit about our other benefits. The heating equipment repair and replacement benefits are available to assist eligible homeowners in replacing or repairing primary heating equipment that is inoperable, unsafe, or detrimental to the homeowner's health. For the HER program, there is a resource test of $10,000 for all repairs and replacements. The household must not have available resources exceeding $10,000 after allowable deductions. The Clean and Tune benefits assist eligible low-income households to have their primary heating system cleaned and tuned, if you couldn't already guess. For both Clean and Tune and HER, the applicant must be the owner of the home for at least 12 months and must reside in the home. Applicants may apply for these benefits by contacting their local district. Applications for the 2024-2025 HER and Clean and Tune are currently being accepted year-round or until funding is exhausted. And the cooling benefits are available for HEAP-eligible households containing at least one individual with a documented medical condition that is exacerbated by extreme heat. And like I mentioned earlier, that opens up on April 15th. And we can move to the next slide, please. Oh, actually, can we move to the previous slide? I missed a note. An exception to the medical requirement for the cooling program is households containing a vulnerable member based on their age 60 years or older, or children under age 6, that meet all other component eligibility criteria may receive cooling assistant benefits without a corresponding medical need. Cooling benefits are limited to just air conditioners. At this time, there is no cash benefit available in summer months for cooling. Okay, thank you. And we can move back to the next one. These two are two of our publications for our Beat the Heat with HEAP for our cooling program and our No Cost Clean and Tune for our Clean and Tune program. They are double-sided with English on one side and Spanish on the other, and they are available to order at the link you see on your screen, which is also a live link that will be in our presentation when it gets posted. Okay, we can move on. And here is our contact information for anybody that needs it. We also have our website listed and the My Benefits site listed if you wanted to, for you to apply online. And that is it for me. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll leave it off to Erin.
Thank you, Brady. That concludes the presentation portion of today's workshop. We will now move on to the Q&A section of the program. We'll start by addressing any questions that were submitted during the workshop, and then we'll open the floor to additional questions. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand and we will unmute you. For those who joined electronically, to unmute yourself, or to raise your hand, click on the little hand icon that's at the bottom of your screen. And if you called in, please press *3 on your phone to raise your hand and we will unmute you. Please remember that you may be muted on your end, so make sure you unmute yourself. Please remember to say the name of the agency or program related to your question. So let me address the first question that came in through the Q&A, and that was, when would an Empower recipient need loan financing? So I'm going to turn that over to Uthman.
Thank you, Aaron. So I'll just paint a quick scenario and hope that the scenario answers the question at the same time. I will also answer the question. So if I'm a resident, and let's say I'm either low income or moderate income, and then I get my assessment, and in my assessment, we'll use low income for example. My cap is $10,000. Person does the assessment, and the work that's being suggested comes out to $13,000. In that case, the $10,000 cap will pay for $10,000 and below. The $3,000 leftover will be considered a customer contribution. You would have to come out of pocket with that amount. So in a case like that, that customer may want to apply to get help or get assistance, with that other 3,000. So that's when a customer would apply. And I'll throw a caveat here that in most cases like that, we have customers that reach out with our clean energy hubs, and the clean energy hubs will try to find some wraparound services that can take care of perhaps that 3,000. Maybe there's alternate programs that we can stack, and so that way it can avoid the customer even having to apply. But that's a scenario where a customer would apply. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Let's see who asked that. That was Amy Gathings. Amy, did that answer your question? If you need further information, please raise your hand. Okay. All right, and that is the questions that we received during the workshop. So I'm now going to open up the floor to anyone who would like to ask a question. Again, if you're on the website or the webinar electronically, just press the little hand icon that's on the bottom of the screen. And if you are calling into the webinar, please press *3 on your phone and that'll raise your hand. And we'll give it a couple minutes to see if anybody thinks of a question. Oh, something came in on our Q&A. Oh, that was Amy saying, yes, that addressed your question. Thank you, Amy. Okay. Anyone on the webinar would like to ask a question of our panelists? Please do so. We'll give it another minute or two and then we'll conclude the webinar. So we'll give it a minute. Maribel, would you like to move on to the last slide, please? Oh, we do have another question. Okay, do you have any best practice advice for food pantries and soup kitchens on how to best support our community members with this information? Is there a particular agency that was being directed to, Mr. Ryan? Or was that for the whole panel? I guess I'll open it up to the panel, see if anybody wants to take a stab at that question.
Hi, this is Jessica Ortiz with NYSERDA. If there's an event that the food pantry is hosting, or if you'd like the regional clean energy hubs to attend and go to the food pantry or soup kitchen, they'd be more than happy to set up a table. The clean energy hubs are structured with energy advisors where they provide information to anybody who goes up to them to navigate a lot of the programs that have been mentioned on today's call. There's also information that the hubs can provide you with, like pamphlets on these programs, so you can distribute them yourselves. And the pamphlets themselves have information on who to contact for the hub. So that could be one way for you to best tap into this information, having a hub participate at an event or provide you with information for you to distribute to people who go to the pantries and the soup kitchen.
Thank you, Jessica. I'll jump into on behalf of DPS. We've mentioned our website several times tonight, particularly our winter website. And on our website, we have the ability for folks to order copies of our publications. So we provide a hard copy. They can also be downloaded and printed, but we do offer hard copies that we will mail out to any organization. So we're happy to provide all of our publications information about the EAP program and financial assistance that's available for folks, particularly during the harsh winters. So I would recommend doing that. And we also have an outreach staff who, like Jessica said, if there's an event that's going on or there's a particular day that you would like to ask if we would be available, we'd be happy to take that on, if we're not already going out someplace. So, contact us through our website and the letter that was sent out to everybody to announce these workshops, if anybody still has that email or letter, there was a particular staff member who we encourage you. I think, Maribel, can you go back to our slide that has the email address where you can request a speaker? The next page, consumer.outreach@dps.ny.gov. That email address, you can reach out to us and ask questions or request somebody to come to an event or speak on to a group. So I think sort of as a summary for everybody, I would say that the best way to reach these folks is probably through our publications. If there's any food pantry that has a bulletin board or a spot that can put out brochures, and then so that would be a good way to try to reach folks. And then also any events that might be happening that the food pantry is involved in, we'd be interested in speaking with you. Alrighty.
Hi, this is Emily Urban with OTDA. I also just wanted to add, this isn't specific to food pantries, but if there is food insecurity with someone that comes to you, please recommend that they apply for SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. There's a lot of information on our website about SNAP. There are also publications that you can order for SNAP. It's the same publications link that Brady had presented earlier. People should be directed to their local social services district to apply for SNAP. There is emergency SNAP as well. So just another option for food insecurity.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for that question. Are there any other questions? We'll give it another minute or two, see if anything else comes in through the Q&A. So Maribel, if you would go back to the last slide, I'd appreciate it. That lists all the agencies again for folks. Oh, we did have a suggestion as well from our Long Island staff, suggested that if we could put some of our information, flyers or whatever, in packets with food and supplies being distributed. So again, I'm sure other agencies as well as ours would be happy to provide you with either a downloadable copy that you could print of something that could be distributed, or, you know, order from our website. So I'd like to, on behalf of today's panelists, I'd like to thank everyone for your time. As a reminder, copies of the slides and the recording of today's workshop will be posted in a few days on the DPS Winter website. It's www.dps.ny.gov/winter. And I'd like to say on behalf of everyone that we wish you a safe and warm winter. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.